All right. And we're rolling.
Okay.
Yep.
Reopen floor once more to old business.
Talk loud.
Okay, so this is Graymail. Thank you all. This is a combined board of directors and AWC meeting. Old business. Let me start with updates on some of the projects that we have going on. The National Website Project. We've pulled together a team of volunteers, selected content managers for each of the pages. The content manager's job is to collect new or update old language on those pages and collect pictures for them. And then each content manager will be responsible for populating that page as it comes together. We've selected WordPress as the software we're going to be using to create and maintain the website, which is great. The web team agreed on it. We did a dummy site. Tiberius of Altera loaned us a site that he had set up so that we could play with it. And WordPress is dirt easy to use. So it's basically easier than Microsoft Word for creating, and populating your images and material. We realized that we lacked design expertise on the team, so we are hiring a Dagorhir member who is a web designer who, among other things, has done Org's website and other websites that many of us have been to and used that are aesthetically pleasing and simple to navigate. The contract, which unfortunately is hung up right now with just technical issues. He sent it to me yesterday or the day before, but it won't download, so we're trying to resolve that by tomorrow. The contract will be not to exceed $1,000 for his design services. And our goal is to deploy by January, by the end of January. Earlier is better, but that's the target that we're shooting for, is to have the new Dagorhir.com up and running by then. Any questions?
Is there any public space for volunteership that's running this website?
I don't think so. It's a closed group. It's a private group, but members, it's volunteers from across the Dagorhir community. I think there's only one other Eritari on it, and that's Boots. Oh, that's right. Echo's on it.
Yeah, so I can let you see it.
I just want to make sure that those people are given proper.
You guys have to talk outside of
they will get. Yeah, the web team. All that information will be made public, and we have publicized who are the content managers, as they've called for. We need pictures and so forth. Yes, sir.
Talk loud.
Question. Down the road, how to maintain, how to keep it up to speed, how to...
This is not going to work.
Yeah, Dominic Stoneskull, Dominic of Kingdom of Jerusalem, is the overall content manager for the site, and of course, per the bylaws, I'm on the team as the project manager. But the intention is for there to always be content managers and hopefully junior content managers for each page. And as people get busy with other things, lose interest, whatever, those content managers can move on and the junior content manager can step up into the role. We're going to actively recruit folks, and actively we're going to be looking for new art and pictures in particular, so that every time you get on the website, there's going to be new stuff to see. By the way, the initial design will not include a forums. That's going to be in phase 2. And there was a lot of talk and interest apparently in doing a Dagorhir store to sell Dagorhir swag. It was part of the previous go-round. That is also being pushed off for later because handling that is technically a lot more challenging. But we're trying to get I liked what the designer said in his proposal. He said Dagorhir needs to get out there where it can compete with the other games like us that are out there recruiting, where our recruiting needs to equal or be greater than theirs. And I think that's where we need to be. This needs to be focused on bringing new members into Dagorhir, as opposed to on the design for the previous iteration of this website was the very first link was store. I thought, no, we're not here to sell things. We're here to get people involved in the game. So there'll be links, for about Dagorhir, how to join, rules, and the goal with the rules is to go back to the 2001 MOA and step forward with all of the rules changes from the AWC's minutes to the modern rule set, so that if there's anything that is out of whack, we can find it and correct it. Go ahead. Yes, there's tutorials, and what we're doing is vetting those with veterans, so that you don't have a really crappy tutorial from somebody that's really enthusiastic but nobody can follow it. And a history section. I'm the one writing the history section, and what I'm trying to do is use image mapping so that there's a timeline. Basically, you have one page with here's Dagorhir's history in a screen with a timeline, and you can click on points in the timeline, and it'll take you to subpages with more detail. So the nerd who wants to know everything about Dagorhir can do it, but you're not confronted with a wall of text when you first get into it. And that's one of the nice things about WordPress. It is easy to do this sort of thing.
Oh, you're right.
Gavin?
Okay,
Talk really loud because they have a lot of background noise,
Hey,
okay?
you guys can move farther away with videotaping a meeting. Thanks.
Sheridan from Gwinnett. Are we going to have a map section where people could put in their zip code and it just pop up where it's near them?
That's part of the joining Dagorhir. I don't know his battle name. Jake Bova Bova is his battle name. Has created a really nice interactive map. Folks are working on that. And I think that's it on the Dagorhir.com site.
I did actually have one more question.
Yeah.
Going forward, does WordPress have a yearly fee? And if so, where is that money coming from?
There is not a yearly fee. I last night bought the template that we're using, the theme as it's called, for WordPress. It's a very flexible one that's been used successfully before, and it's a one-time fee for the site, and it was on sale for $20 off. So hey, that's good. The money to pay for that is coming out of the GoFundMe that was done last year, and also the money to pay for the design contract.
I know it's a no quarter. Where's the site being hosted?
TierraNet, where it currently is. If somebody has a better deal than TierraNet, welcome to hear it. But TierraNet has a whole WordPress backend built into them already. So, they are robust enough. The challenge for us is always with an all-volunteer group where we don't have a cash incentive to say, Inox, we're going to pay you to maintain this site, to find volunteers who will remain engaged and who won't hang on to it when they can no longer do it. Because we all, it's like, oh no, I've been doing this for years. I love doing this. It's really important to me, but I'm too busy. I got a new child. You have this, you have that, your job changed, whatever. So, make sure that we're constantly tapping the greater Dagorhir pool to bring in people that can do these things and make it all happen. On a related note, I was poking around on the Eritari site, dagorhir.org, and it proudly proclaims, celebrating our 30th year. I want that to sink in for a sec, because this is Dagorhir's 40th year. So our website is sorely out of date, and I would like us to find folk within Eritari who will step up and do the same thing.
If you replace celebrating 30th year with new,
That's all you have to do. And then it's a new website.
There you go. So, if anybody has web expertise and enthusiasm in their unit, send your folks forward.
And it's like that can be made in a matter of minutes. Like I could go home tonight and just change that.
Well,
that's easy stuff.
But what is the current Aeratari site written in? Is it HTML?
You can edit the HTML. Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy.
Well, we need new content. We need new material. One of the things that I would love to see, not only in our site locally, but on the national site, are news reports. You know, here's an update about the event that just happened. You know, you come home from Winter War and you write a review of Winter War. You know, that may be replaced by forums. One of the challenges that we have is that now that Facebook is so ubiquitous, once we get forums set up, how do we drive traffic to them? Because Facebook is fun, but it is a crappy way to archive information. So we need to come up with a plan for that. But as I said, the forums are a phase 2 item. I'm going to hand out. What the rest of these handouts? Here's copies of.
Unit leaders.
Yeah, there should be there's at least a dozen copies, so there should be at least one for every unit. As discussed, the DBGA bylaws were originally written in the 90s. They've been updated a little bit in the early 2000s and haven't been touched since then. And there's a number of things in them that we need to discuss whether to keep or change. For example, on the first page you'll see new, the Ericos Amendment, which was anyone running for either president or treasurer of DBGA needs to undergo a background investigation. There are publicly available government websites where you can find somebody's criminal history and determine, is this somebody that has been convicted of embezzlement before? We actually had that for the treasurer at one point. So the exact specifics on how to do it and what board member it would fall to run that are a matter of determination. I'm handing this out now so that everybody can take them back to our units and discuss. And then at the next War Council meeting, we can have a more informed discussion. And when will that be? I'd like to ask, are a lot of people going to be going to Saturnalia because there's a feast that night? Or could we do it before the feast? So...
Was Saturnalia the same day as Yule Feast? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Different locations, but we could even move the location to where we're all going to the same place, although that would be taking us out of our Virginia rotation for a month, which I don't like to do. So one of the questions that I put in here was that the frequency of AWC meetings. You know, when the rules were written, it says, "Yay, we should be meeting it once a month, or as business requires." Well, the fact is, we meet about once every 3 or 4 months, often because we don't have a quorum of voting units represented, which is fine. Everybody has real lives and packed schedules, but we can't always predict when we will next have a quorum. You know, if suddenly everybody in Berserkers gets food poisoning, not that that's happened as recently as
neurovirus.
right, and you guys are cooking a feast. I want you wearing masks while you're cooking that feast.
We just won't poop on the food.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, so if folks can sound off online on Facebook, on the meeting invites, to say, "I'll be there to rep my unit." We can know in advance that we're going to have enough people to do the meeting. One item that I want to draw everybody's attention to is on page 2, suggesting modifications to the wording that's 20 years old, saying that we will ensure that all new or modified combat rules approved by the RWC are adopted into the Manual of Arms. Because by being part of the RWC, we have always been part of that process. But it was pointed out, yeah, but it's not in the DBGA bylaws, so technically DBGA could say, yeah, RWC voted for that, but we're not going to put it in the MOA. Now, why would we do that? I don't know. Nobody's ever able to answer that question. But I'm sorry, did you convene this as the meeting of the secret Dagorhir shadow government? Vague evil. Vague evil. Okay. Vague evil. But anyway,
and we don't like the rest of the school.
There you go.
That's why.
Let's see. Go ahead.
Does this mean it automatically reset?
Yes.
Because originally we had the right, we had to choose.
That's true.
Get rid of it if we didn't like it.
Well,
that's how it used to be.
Right. And we could still have the option to not play by a rule locally. In Eritari. But this just says that we're going to put it into the Manual of Arms, which
this ensures the government in the sunshine and making sure everyone in Dagorhir knows that we're following what we said we would follow, that Ragnarok War Council has control of the rules of Dagorhir.
Yeah.
The rules of Dagorhir.
Yeah. The MOA.
Individual chapters can make exceptions as they choose.
Hey, are there any more waivers in there? Did I get all the waivers out of your green thing?
That's what it says.
What we're saying is that we will modify the Dagorhir MOA to match with RWC. That's what it says. That Eritari wants to adopt the Dagorhir MOA.
Right. It's saying the MOA will be updated.
So we've always followed the MOA. So the MOA has always been what we do. But this is just saying that RWC and MOA will now meet. And
oh my!
Who's that old guy?
Okay.
God, he's old.
Next.
Let me see real quick. If there was anything else.
I just had a. Sorry.
Yeah, talk real loud.
I just had a quick question. On the background investigation, who determines what is fit for office? Is there like set things?
Can I take that one?
Go for it, Daniel.
So the entire intent of that is to say informed decision making. So suppose hypothetically you have whatever it is you have in your past, and you still are aware of that, and you still want to run for office. Then you accept that that information will be available to the BOD and to the AWC, and then the decision can be made at that point. People can vote for whoever they choose to vote for. I mean, we voted for President instead of youth cocaine. We're all aware of it, and they got voted into office anyway. So it's informed decision making.
So it's not. It's not. The information is found. If the person is disqualified, if the information is found, shared with, and then we determine.
Correct. If they decide they still want to run for office and disclose that information publicly, then that's their choice.
Okay, and if one of the points. Hey! We're trying to hold. We're taping a meeting here. Thank you. If one of the questions that I asked in the proposal is, we need to decide the timing. Do we want to know that information before we vote? And if that's the case, then people need to declare their candidacy in advance. Is that what you were going to say too?
Yeah, it's worded kind of weird. It seems like post-election taking the office.
But
right. Well, all that is. This is just a proposal to spur discussion.
So if I could respond to that again. So the entire intent of this is just to make sure if someone is shady, that we're all aware of it before we vote for them. That's the entire intent of this. And if we still vote for them, that's fine. We've made the choice. But the timing thing, real quick. If we're going to say the information must be disclosed prior to the election, then that means the declaration for candidacy should occur perhaps like in March, where there's time for that investigation to be done and for the information to be disseminated and for decisions to be made. If we decide we don't like this, that we want to actually vote for people without any information, and then make a decision of whether or not we've made a good choice after the fact, that seems probably like not the best way to do it. Yeah.
Right, but that will require a modification. We'll have to add in language that says people for those two offices need to declare their candidacy by X date, by April.
Right.
so that there's time to conduct the BI.
So we have in. Oh, I'm sorry. He was actually first. You were sitting there.
Project.
Okay, talk loud.
Turkana Dune of Berserkers of Youngsburg. So just so I understand what exactly we're talking about, not just this exact one proposal, but all of these red text changes. Are we just bringing this to the awareness of the council today, or are we attempting to vote on it?
No, this is a proposal to take back to your units, discuss among your membership, and then at the next War Council meeting, which may or may not be December 16th, 19th, 9th. Thank you. We can
Finalize the proposal.
finalize the proposals and vote whether to accept each one separately.
So are we still in agreement that we understand what this exact point is? That there needs to be the investigations need to be started by a date, so they can be assuredly brought to the meeting on time.
My question kind of pertains to that. What do we do if no one declares their candidacy in time? Because that has happened in the past where we go, who wants to be treasurer? And we all look at the circle and everybody goes, no.
So then perhaps that's when we do the after the fact check.
Well, I mean, and that's for this rule. We do, I feel, need to address that because if it's going to allow an after the fact vote, that does kind of
Not
change
an
the
after the fact vote. Just say, hey, did we make a good choice?
Okay.
So that is incumbent on all of us. We collectively are the leadership of Dagorhir Eritrea. Whether your unit has voting rights or not, or whatever, we're still the membership coordinators within our club. And we need to be canvassing our folks and saying who else would like to take on this job that's coming up, and who's willing to pay their dues, because they're pretty crappy jobs for which one doesn't get a lot of thanks. By the way, thank you. So,
Marl?
I was just going to say that if you guys are worried about having two separate deadlines, just make one deadline for every single office. And it just solves it. If there's a deadline that's cut, this is where all
I'll kill my camera.
it's after this.
That's a valid point, but the only officers that really carry a lot of weight and can really screw us over are treasurer and president.
Yeah, but I mean,
The magistrate's just a guy that sits here and
But it does simplify the rules, I think is what Marl's saying. It's not so confusing.
Well, if we're going to still have the rules after that, which is probably going to happen 9 times out of 10 So I'm saying, why would you make that rule? This person knows that if he goes in and wins the office, that anything's very long, it's criminal activity. And if that's such time, then you have the right to either decide to put a temporary person in there.
well, so valid points, but I'm just putting this out there for us to discuss with our folks, and then we'll have the discussion and come up with proposals on how do we solve that riddle.
Right. Let's not try and solve the problem now.
So what I was saying previously was I think what we should do, plan for the next War Council meeting is to finalize the proposals in this. Not vote. I don't think we should vote on the next meeting. I think we should finalize the proposals on the next meeting.
Okay, well, however you want to proceed. There's nothing in this that is critical to Dagorhir's safety. So a couple other things that I want to point out real quickly and just move us along, because this is just an interim document to start conversation. If you go